In this example, I will describe how to use the probability table to find joint probabilities and then how to use the addition rule to find one more probability. Let's begin by reading our question. At the grocery store, 70% of the different types of juice come in a bottle holding at least 400 milliliters, and 40% of the different types of juice come in a low sugar version. You can see on the table that those numbers have been filled in for you, so that the 70% of all bottles, at least 400 milliliters, comes to a total of 140, and the 40% of all bottles of juice with low sugar available comes to a total of 80. Well, 80 is 40% of 200, so we can fill in our total number of juices, and we can find our total number of no low sugar available juices by simply subtracting 80 from 200. You'll see that our total of juices in bottles less than 400 milliliters is also given to us as 60 bottles. And we can confirm that these numbers are correct because the totals for the rows, which is 80 and 120, should add up to 200, which is also the totals for the columns. 60 plus 140 equals 200. Now, to fill the cells inside the table, we need to find the joint probabilities, and one of those is described for us in the question. Only 25% of the juice varieties are in bottles holding at least 400 milliliters and have a low sugar version. So 25% of 200 is equal to 50. So we will place 50 into our cell for low sugar available juices in bottles at least 400 milliliters. Now that we know two of the numbers in that third column, we can subtract 140 minus 50 to find the number of no low sugar available juices in at least 400 milliliter bottles. We can do the same thing to find no low sugar available juices in less than 400 milliliter bottles by subtracting 100 minus 90 equals 30. And finally, to find the number of bottles of juice with low sugar available and less than 400 milliliters, we can either calculate 60 minus 30 equals 30, or we can calculate 80 minus 50 equals 30. Now that we have the number of bottles of these different varieties of juice in different bottle sizes, we can go to the next screen and start calculating our probabilities. Use the table to find the probabilities for a juice chosen at random from the shelf. So the probability of choosing a juice in a bottle less than 400 milliliters can be found by simply dividing the number of juices in bottles less than 400 milliliters by the total number of bottles. And when we put that into the calculator, we see that that equals 0.3. So the probability of choosing a bottle less than 400 milliliters when choosing a juice from the shelf at random is equal to 0.3. We can also calculate the probability of choosing a juice with no low sugar available in the same way. The total no low sugar available juices is 120, and we divide that by 200. We can put that into the calculator and find that the probability of choosing a no low sugar available juice from the shelf at random is equal to 0.6. We can also read off of the table the probability of choosing a no low sugar available and in a bottle less than 400 milliliters by reading the joint probability inside this table in the cell where the columns no low sugar available meets the row no low sugar available meets the column less than 400 milliliters. And that number of bottles is 30. So we divide 30 by the total number of bottles on the shelf to find the probability of choosing a bottle that is both no low sugar available and less than 400 milliliters from the shelf at random is equal to 0.5. We are going to use these three probabilities that we just found from our table to calculate the final probability, and that is the probability of choosing a bottle of juice with no low sugar available or a bottle of juice in a bottle size less than 400 milliliters. To do this, we need to use the addition rule for probability, and we use the addition rule when the question asks for the probability of an event or another event occurring. To get an idea of what we mean by this, it's handy to use a Venn diagram. So on the right here, a Venn diagram will be used where the circles overlap each other. The first circle highlighted in yellow represents the probability of choosing a bottle less than 400 milliliters equals 0.3, and we'll call that circle A. The second circle that is highlighted in blue is the probability of choosing a bottle that's no low sugar available, and we'll call that circle B, and that is equal to 0.6. Now you'll notice that there is an area that is shaded green where the yellow circle and the blue circle overlap, and that represents the probability of choosing a bottle that is both no low sugar available and less than 400 milliliters. And we found that in our joint probability table, and it's equal to 0.15. The equation for the addition rule of probability is, in general, the probability of A or B equals the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A and B. Why do we subtract this probability of A and B? Because looking at our Venn diagram, you can see that this green shaded area is shared both by A and B. So if we didn't subtract the probability of A and B, we would be double counting that green shaded area because it counts in probability of A as well as it's part of probability of B. So let's, instead of calling these probabilities less than 400 milliliters, no low sugar available, and probability of no low sugar and less than 400 milliliters, we're going to rename these probabilities probability A, B, and A and B. So we can see those probabilities highlighted here in yellow, blue, and green, and we will substitute those into our equation of the addition rule for the probability of A or B. So we are still trying to find the probability of no low sugar available or less than 400 milliliters. And that probability is equal to 0.3 plus 0.6 minus 0.15. And when we perform that calculation, we see that that probability is equal to 0.75. So our likelihood or our chances of choosing a bottle that is either low sugar available or less than 400 milliliters is 0.75, or as we can also say 75% chance. So to wrap up, in summary, what we've done here with the addition rule is used our previous probabilities from the joint probability table and the addition rule to calculate a probability of an event or another event occurring. So there, in summary, is our table and all of our calculations that were asked at the beginning of the video. I hope this helps you understand how to use a probability table, how to calculate probability, and how to use the addition rule so that you can better help your student understand probability.